Hello, guys. Welcome to Rex Alpha TV. This is the Rex Alpha Show, the LGBTQ channel that discusses LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ approach and an LGBTQ perspective, and also humanistic approach in an LGBTQ plus planet. Yes, it is a rainbow world where everybody exists, diverse but united. And today we are going on, and it's like I called it my gender day, and gender day because we've discussed that in a video into part discussing human sex is very important in the world, how women are in the world, much as we know we are LGBTQ plus, because in women you have lesbians, bisexuals, queer, trans women, and of course some people dispute that, but trans women are women. Not intersex, you don't put intersex there. Questioning women and allies, asexual women, and pansexual women. And then in the men you have gay men, bisexual men, trans men, queer men, questioning men, ally men, those are straight men who are allies, asexual men, and pansexual men. So basically LGBTQ applies to both men and women. All men and women belong to either letter. But now we are focusing on the sex ratio in terms of gender, because it's very important to understand gender discrepancies. They affect how the world is going. Like, of course, we are now seeing majority of the world is becoming more and more female. Yes. And this is a very important thing people need to understand, that the male species is becoming extinct. And there are some scientists who have already written this and projected that the Y chromosome is actually disappearing from the face of the earth. Because basically, it means if women are increasing in numbers, that have or X sperms rather than Y sperms. So one of the reasons why there are more sperms than Y sperms could be that the men have are less masculine these days. That's a reality, and I always encourage men especially, do not fear discussing about your sexuality and your sexual health. You know, men have that problem. Majority of men, they don't like talking about themselves. And we have come to a world whereby we need to talk about ourselves. You know, whether you're a man or a woman, you need to talk about yourself, where you're going, your future. That's why the LGBTQ movement is the way it is. We come and discuss our issues and our future and our present and our past. We are always discussing. And remember, I've always been telling you, time is God. Time is life. Yes, time is life. It's everything. And where you are in life is because of time. You know, it's time. And that's why we don't need to waste time arguing with people. I don't waste time arguing with people. I use my time to share my beliefs of life, because there I know I'm not wasting time. It gives me time to think. Yeah, and so we've got to be very aware about what's happening in the world. That's why I'm very happy for these scientific and the internet sources that are giving us data. Data is everything right now. And the data we're receiving is that men are becoming few. And you know, this means a lot to some issues. Look at the construction. Like for me, I love men in the construction industry. Oh, men build beautiful things. They've really actually, where I can thank men as a gender is in the construction industry. They do wonderful work. Imagine building skyscrapers. Seriously think, how many women would even try to climb? No offense. It is not easy. And men are very good at taking risks. And so that's why we really need to be concerned about the boy child much as we are concerned about the girl child. Let's be concerned about all our children, whether they are gay or straight, male or female. Good. Now let's do this map. We go through human sex ratio. This is a map indicating the human sex ratio in the country. The more females, countries with males, accounting the African figures 1 to female, and then countries with more males than females, and then there are no data countries. Now look at this beautiful, I love this map. It's beautiful. You know why it's beautiful? Look at Africa. Africa is the most balanced or diverse. Gender diversity is reigning in Africa. And look at Southern Africa. Southern Africa and Central and parts of Central Africa or Sub-Saharan Africa is a very feminized part of the world, with a balance, with countries with more females than males, more countries with more females than males, and countries with more males than females in Sub-Saharan Africa. Then look at Saharan Africa or Northern Africa. It is just countries with more males than females. Unbelievable. And these happen to be Egypt, Sudan, Algeria, and Mali, and I think that's also Nigeria. Yeah, Nigeria has very many men. Interesting. And also about Nigeria, you see Nigeria, China, India, these are the most populated countries in the world, and no wonder they're having very many men, because they are reproducing. they are really manufacturing babies, and so for every manufacturing they must get boys in them. But that's not the point. The point is you can even manufacture very many babies and you don't have boys. I know there are some families whereby they have very many children and they are only girls, so why are you torturing them to have babies? There are these people, when they have so many girls, they insist we have to make a baby until we get a boy. And it is so archaic. You don't do that. If you have 2 girls and you want a boy and then the next child is a girl, go for IVF. Yes, go for stem cell reproduction and get a boy. That's the easiest way. You just do it that way. There's no harm in IVF or stem cell reproduction if you want a boy, rather than having so many girls and in the name of we are trying to get a boy, when actually the man who is siring the woman actually has a lot of X in his body, in his sperms. He may have very little Y. Yes, it's there. So don't worry. If you want a boy, go to the clinic. If you want a girl, go to the clinic. All right. So look at Africa. It has all the colors, red, green, and blue. Now, look at Asia, the Eastern world. It's unbelievable. It means the testosterone levels and therefore the Y chromosome is very loaded in the Eastern world, the Asian community. Because you see, look at Saudi Arabia, they have more males than females. And India, they have more males than females. And China, they have more males than females. But look at the opposite of the East, that is the West. It's unbelievable. They have more females than males. Look at America. Absolutely no red. No red in America. And in South America, very few countries are red. Even Brazil has more females than males. Very interesting. And so this could mean the Western world and the Western system has more X chromosomes than Y chromosomes in their sperms. Of course, in the West, they have talked about, they have a lot of stories about sperm quality, and which is also a bit, it's a bit patriarchal. It's a patriarchal argument. It's like people feel like if you don't have if you don't have boys, you're a funny man, you know. You're not a really good, you're not a man. Why did you have girls only? So there's that. Sometimes I don't like the articles I read in the West, from the West, that attack the Western man for low sperm quality. You know, because for them, sperm quality means you should have a lot of Y chromosomes in your sperm, or a lot of loaded. And it's a fact, when you are loaded, when you have a lot of sperm and a lot of semen, it's a fact you will have a lot of Y chromosome. And if you don't have a lot of sperm and or a lot of semen, you will have more X chromosome, because X chromosomes don't really need a lot of testosterone. Of course, that's why women have little testosterone. They have testosterone, but not as much as a man, because the Y chromosome is loaded with testosterone. So it's just a very interesting thing that the West is has more females than males, and this could explain the reason why feminism is very strong in the West, because they are the feminists, they are telling the patriarchs in the West that, hey, look at the population, you have so many women, and they are being oppressed, they are not even taken care of, please do something. And that's the feminist war in the West. Now when you come to Asia, you and the Arab world especially, you don't really see very big feminist organizations in those countries, because they have very many males, and that is influencing decision making. It's influencing power structures, it's influencing governance, and so women cannot make noise. Yeah, and that could be the reason. So it's a very interesting map to study. And of course, I give a plus and credit to countries that are green. You know, the green countries are balanced, they have male and female, but it doesn't mean that they don't have problems. They also do have problems. All right, let's go down and read more. Sex ratio by country for total population. Blue represents more women, red more men than the world average of 1. So you can see Saudi Arabia again is leading. And I think this is very true. Arabs are interestingly, they have a lot of testosterone. And look at them. They are in red, meaning they have more than the world average of 1.01 male to female. And let's see the country that has more women. Look at Russia. Russia has more women than average. Very interesting. Very interesting. This tells you the men in Russia, their sperms are X. They have a lot of X chromosomes. They are men in that country. All right, sex ratio by population, by country population aged below 15. Blue represents more women, red more men. Now look at the teenagers. Look at Africa. Wow, very many teenage girls in Africa. Unbelievable. And look at China. Very many teenage boys in China. All right. Sex ratio by country for the population above 65. Blue represents more women, red more men. Look at that, than the world average of 0.79. Look at Russia. So many old women in Russia. And look at Sudan. So many old men in Sudan and Saudi Arabia. Very many old men, because they have many men. India also has very many old men. And China. And then America has a of old men, but more old. When you map, they they're more okay, old age. They are more old men than or and half, and then but teenagers. Africa is competing strongly with China, and it means Africa very many women. Is going to have very many women in the next 10 years. So this means that Africa has to really look at the women and having a scenario of than age below or to read and look accordingly. And one way to plan is social. That's the only men education, and the other way is what do you call it? Pay, and the other way is that will help women. But for China, they're boys, and they're going to be building a lot. They're going to do a lot of road engineering. Yes, it's a fact. If you have men, there are some a fact, and some industries need more women than men. So construction needs to see where China is really going to do a lot of construction and a lot of manufacturing. Okay, so we don't want to go so deep into the details here. We just want to go. We finished the video looking at different countries. Consequences of a high sex ratio. In parts of China and India, there is a 12 to 15% excess of young men. These men will remain single and will be unable to have families in societies where marriage is regarded as virtually universal and social status and acceptance depend in large part on being married and creating a new family. Analysis of how sex ratio imbalances affect personal consumption and intra-household distribution were pioneered by Gary Baker and Shoshana and Marcia and Paul. High ratios of males have a positive effect on marital fertility and women's share of household consumption, and negative effects on the non-marital cohabitation and fertility and women's labor supply. It has been shown that the variation in sex ratio over time is inversely related to married women's labor supply in the US. Okay, so basically, those are the consequences of a high sex ratio, especially China and India. They're having very many men. So these men will be unmarried. One of the ways to deal with that, in my view, of course, LGBTQ marriage is okay. Is one way to deal with that. Let the gay men marry them, their fellow men. And then another thing is I mean, sex work should be, what do you call it? Sex work should be legalized so that men can have sex freely, even if they are single. Yes, and because when you legalize sex work, even the poor men can get the poor sex worker. The one who charges little money, they get enjoyment from them to keep them happy. Because, and then also another thing, the cultural system should become more flexible. A man should not be seen that a man is a man irrespective of whether he's single or married. That's the cultural viewpoint that should be set forth in China and India. I mean, that's where I am right now. I don't think a man really doesn't have to have a family to be a man. He's already a man. I mean, how else? What else do you want to show a man? He's a man. He has his package, you know. He can do what he wants with his life. That's a man. There's nothing like a failed man that if he doesn't have a family, he's failed. No. He's a man. And if he wants to have a family, it's a bonus. If he wants to remain single, it's also a bonus. You treat him as a human being. Don't treat... The other thing that people need to change is the gender economics of the world. You don't have to treat men and women like gender slaves. You know, they are enslaved to their gender. You're not enslaved to your gender. You are a free human, and you can do whatever you want to do with your life. Okay. What else is there? I wanted to see. Oh, this is a nice one. Intersex population figures. Yeah, we're going to come back to that then as we finish the video. I wanted a page that would show us the countries, the list of countries. Let's see, the list of countries. I wanted to talk about countries. You know, doing roll call. Let's go to intersex. I wanted us to do roll call, but I have not seen roll call here. Of course, here are the problems that lead to what's happening: infanticide, selective sex selective abortion, infanticide, technology, even eating. You know, the foods we eat can produce more Y chromosomes than X chromosomes, or more X chromosomes than Y chromosomes. Rape, all of these affect sexual ratio. Nice topic we looked at today. Intersex, we want to look at the intersex populations. Okay, sorry that happened. We have gone to a wrong sector. So let's go back. Human sex ratio list. There you are again. More females. Are you seeing the world? It's very feminine. And more males. Asia, the Eastern world is practically filled with males. And they do it intentionally. You know, abortion, they abort girls. And for a reason. The East is developing. And so when you're developing, and I even discussed this one time, long time ago, some 3 years ago, when you are developing infrastructurally, you need more men than women, because it's a lot of hard labor to do those things. So what happens is, in China, India, these guys abort girls. They legalize abortion for that reason, to know whether the sex of the child. So if they find that the child is a girl, they abort the child. They want to have boys, and the reason they're having boys is to industrialize and to build the country at a fast rate. So that's why you're seeing blue is always found in China and India, countries that do those abortions. Then now this is a sex ratio above 65. You can still see there are very many old women in the world, even though there are some old men. Okay. Now these are the countries. This is what I wanted, and then we are done with the video. Look at Afghanistan. Number of males in relation to females, to each female, 1.09 is the world average. So any country you see above 1.09, just know is Armenia has very many men. Azerbaijan has very many men. What else? Look at African countries. They are below average. China, 1.15. Look at that. So many males in China. Interesting. And you look at Europe. Look at Ghana, 1.03. Wow. Very few men there. I mean, equal. It's a bit equal. Look at Kazakhstan, 0.94. That means very many women are there. Okay. Okay. Basically, these are the countries. One mostly are just below average. Tanzania is 1.03. Uganda is also 1.03. America and the UK are together. I wanted to look at Rwanda. Rwanda is a very interesting country. They tend to have a lot of women. Yes, 1.03. Yeah. So Rwanda is a very, it is taking care of women, giving women power based on the 1.03. And good. I just have shown you China and India. China is at 1.15. You know, let's look at Nigeria. 1.06. Okay. Still below average. And then India 1.112. Yes, that's what I told you. It is that they are focused on the males. All right, good. Now let's show, because I saw the intersex population. I want that to be, see how they did it, whether they really got the right figures. 6 persons in the world. I hope they did it the way I think they have done it. Okay. I touched the intersex. That's at least in Australia. And let's see, intersex people, blah 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 blah. They are hermaphrodites, congenital eunuchs, and congenitally frigid. Intersex people may face stigmatization and discrimination from birth or discovery of an intersex trait, and this may include infanticide, as I said in my videos, abandonment, and stigmatization of families. Globally, some intersex infants and children, such as those with ambiguous outer genitalia, are surgically or hormonally altered to create more socially acceptable sex characteristics. Yeah, this is a very controversial thing that is happening. Yes, and you remember Semenya went through hell for that. Now, okay. You see, what I was telling you, that we are all intersexual, because in biological terms, sex may be determined by a number of factors at birth. The number and type of sex chromosomes, the type of gonads, the sex hormones, the internal reproductive anatomy, and the external genitalia. So these are the levels of sexuality for every human being. You check the number and type of sex chromosomes you have, and the type of gonads, whether you have ovary or testicles, and the sex hormones, and the internal reproductive system you have, and the external genitalia. Now, that's why I say we are all intersex, because our sex hormones are both male and female. But for some, they have different number of sex chromosomes, and others have different types of gonads, and others have a different internal reproductive anatomy, and others have a different external genitalia. So people whose characteristics are not either typically male or typically female are called intersex. Yes, these are the people. We don't know what to call them. Are they male, female? Are they male, male, female, female? Are they nothing? Are they it? You know, that's how it is. All right. Good. So I'm looking for I thought they were going to give us the population numbers, but this is what I did in the other video. And you see, 1 in 1,000 are those who are XXY. Can you imagine? 1 in 2,000 are those with Turner syndrome, meaning they only have an X. And then 1 in 13,000, look at that. These are the androgen insensitive syndrome. And then 1 in 130,000 brats. These are XY again, partial androgen. This is a woman who is XY. And XY, 1 in 13,000 again. And then late onset adrenal hyperplasia, 1 in 10,000. Then vaginal atresia, 1 in 6,000. And ovotestis, look at that, 1 in 83,000. And idiopathic, 1 in 110,000. And then these others are not estimated. And oh, look at that one, 1 in 110,000 bats. That is very rare. And so that's interesting. Okay, I wanted to see if they had done a map of this, but they have not necessarily done a map, because I think sometimes, you see, look at the Quigley scale. This is ambiguous genitalia may appear as a large clitoris or as a small penis. So this is the different, this is how you can tell who is intersex. You see, the small penis and the clitoris. So you see, that's number 1, number 2. Then you have someone with a very, you see, is number 3, and then you have number 4. You don't know whether it's a clitoris or it's a penis, and that's how you see we all develop. That's why we are one. Look at 6, 7. This 6, 7 is equal to this. It's just that the material, the clitoris material, is used to build the penis. So every woman who has a clit, she has a baby penis. It's a baby penis. And so some women, the clitoris is so long, it was supposed to be a penis but it didn't become. So we are all intersex. Beautiful. And we end our discussion of human sex that way. That's why we are a unisex world. We are a uniarchy. Men and women are more intersex. See you.